So, I figured that I would do a little walkthrough of all of the many books, there are more here too, that are on my reading list on the top of my bookshelf that I haven't gotten to, that I've meant to for a long time, that I've heard are really good. So we can go through all of them, look at them, look at the titles, and then, and then maybe there'll be descriptions, like a little blurb about them. It just has reviews at the beginning. And there's just reviews on the back. So this is David Sedaris, Dress Your Family in Corduroy and Denim. Dress Your Family in Corduroy and Denim by David Sedaris. It's like a doll body. And this one, I really do want to read, partially because I love the title of this book. And I've heard that it's amazing. The last three sentences are, inside of the house suddenly seemed just as bad, and so I stood there looking at it what I'd now think of as my village. When the sun came up, I would bury my dead and fill the empty bucket with hydrangeas, a bit of life and color so perfect for the table, so pleasing to the eye. I have another book by David Sedaris on this list as well. When You Are Engulfed with Flames. David Sedaris. It's like a skull. Going down the neck into the shoulders. Just the eye, the other eye, the nose, the mouth, the big head. Me too. My head. It's hard for me to wear hats sometimes because just like my head is too big. It's called When You Are Engulfed in Flame. It's early autumn, 1964. 2 straight-A students head off to school, and when one of them returns home, Chesney Yelverton is coaxed from retirement and assigned to what proves to be the most difficult and deadly case of his career. From the shining homes on the hill to the back alleys of the notorious East Side, When You Are Engulfed in Flames confirms once again that David Sedaris is a master of mystery and suspense. Or how about, when set on fire, most of us either fumble for our wallets or waste valuable time feeling sorry for ourselves. David Sedaris has studied this phenomenon, and his resulting insights may very well save your life. All right. David Sedaris has written yet another book of his essays, his 6th. His subjects include a parasitic worm that once lived in his mother-in-law's leg, an encounter with a dingo, and the recreational use of an external catheter. Also recounted is the buying of a human skeleton and the author's attempt to quit smoking in Tokyo. Master of nothing, at the dead center of his game, Sedaris proves that when you play with matches, you sometimes light the whole pack on fire. So this was also given to me and recommended. And this one, by the title and visual and everything, I'm less interested in it than Dress Your Family in Corduroy and Denim, although I'm sure if I find that book really good, then I would continue to read When You Are Engulfed in Flood, because they're both different than me, so I'm sure they're both really good. And here we have selected poems by Rilke. Rilke's Selected Poems. It's a dual language book. It says it on the front and on the back. It's a dual language book by Rainer Maria Rilke. Edited and translated by Stanley Applebaum. Rilke, a native of Prague. You bitches can't even spell Prague. This is, when I had heard, I was at one point watching, I think it was an UnCarly video, and she talked about how people that she knew, like English students, would always talk about how they liked Rilke, and I was easily influenced, and I was like, oh, okay, let me get it. So I got, sorry, I got some poems by Rilke. Okay, here's one that's short. I live my life within growing rings that spread over all of the things. Perhaps I won't complete the last ring, but I'll try to. I revolve around God, around the primeval tower, and I circle for millennia. And I still don't know whether I'm a falcon, a storm, or a great Cantu. So there's that. Then I have Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman, the 150th anniversary edition. Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman. When Walt Whitman self-published his Leaves of Grass in early 1855, he altered the course of literary history. One of the greatest masterpieces of American literature, Leaves of Grass redefined the rules of poetry while describing the soul of the American character. Ralph Waldo Emerson immediately proclaimed the book the most extraordinary piece of wit and wisdom that America has yet contributed, and hailed Whitman as the American poet he had long anticipated. I greet you at the beginning of a great career. I got this, I believe, at a bookstore, but I don't quite remember where it's from. Yeah, I don't see it. I'm not sure, but this was also on my reading list. I have another book by Rilke, Rilke's Book of Hours. Contains the original German text. This is the 100th anniversary edition. They're love poems to God. These poems of spiritual yearning and discovery composed by the young Rilke 100 years ago feel very fresh and moving in the beautifully transparent supple versions of Anita Barrows and Joanna Macy. With their psalm-like directness and emotional urgency, they nourish and quicken the life of the spirit. This one that I opened up to, from Page 101. I have hymns you haven't heard. There's an upward soaring in which I bend close. You can barely distinguish me from the things that kneel before me. They are like sheep. They are grazing. I am the shepherd on the brow of the hill. When evening draws them home, I follow after. The dark bridge thudding and the vapor rising from their backs hides my own homecoming. But it is interesting how we here it's one stanza all put together, and here in the translation it's separated. Then I have Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. The world's best-selling mystery. The world's best-selling mystery. Mystery best-selling world. The best-selling mystery of the world. The Queen of Mystery, Agatha Christie. Author's note. I had written this book because it was so difficult to do that the idea had fascinated me. Then people had to die without it being ridiculous or the murderer being obvious. I wrote the book after a tremendous amount of planning, and I was pleased with what I had made of it. It is clear, straightforward, baffling, and yet had an epilogue in order to explain it. It was well received and reviewed, but the person who was really pleased with it was myself, for I knew better than any critic how difficult it had been. Ten strangers are lured to an isolated island mansion off the Devon coast by a mysterious U.N. Owen. 9. At a recorded dinner, a message accuses each of them in turn of having a guilty secret, and by the end of the night, one of the guests is dead. Stranded by a violent storm and haunted by a nursery rhyme counting down one by one they begin to die. Who among them is the killer, and will any of them survive? I have Music for Chameleons. New writing by Truman Capote, including 1 hand-carved coffins. Music for Chameleons, Truman Capote. There's a picture on the back. Face of the hand, and then the hand, the body down here. Music for Chameleons is a continuation of Mr. Capote's concern with developing the artistic possibilities of journalism. Almost all of the work here has been written in the last 2 years. Of the 14 pieces, ranging from a portrait of Marilyn Monroe, A Beautiful Child, to a novella-length factual account of an unforgettable American crime, Hand-Carved Coffins. Only the story Mojave appears to be conventionally fictional, or as the author says, I've written it as though it were there. I've written it as though it were. I really like Truman Capote, and I've read Breakfast at Tiffany's a couple times, so I got this. I was looking for a collection of short stories that he had done. Because, again, that one was from UnCarly. There was a book recommendation that she did that I was like, oh, that sounds like something I would really like. Because I like, Save Me the Waltz by Zelda Fitzgerald. Then I have Answered Prayers, the unfinished novel by Truman Capote, with another Without going further into the details of the complicated plot, it should be said that these pages are filled with lapidary wit, beautiful and intelligent women, sadistic husbands, entertaining dialogue, a kidnapping, scandalous stories, and some of the best gossip of our times. While it is frustrating to read these 3 chapters because of the reader's sense of what might have been, they show the author at the top of his form and make superb reading even as an unfinished mosaic. These pages leave no doubt that if Answered Prayers had been completed, it would have been a justly celebrated novel and one of the biggest bestsellers of its era. I don't remember where I got this from. I think it was given to me, but there's a chance that I got it somewhere. I don't remember. Running with Scissors by Augusten Burroughs. My grandmother gave this to me. She's recommended it to me many, many times. There's even some bookmarks in it. They're Cat in the Hat. Dr. Seuss bookmarks. Running with Scissors by Augusten Burroughs. She's told me a bit about this, but I've never actually gone through and read it. But it is a memoir. Burroughs has memorialized his bizarre childhood, showing off a dark wit that often rivals that of David Sedaris, while telling a true story that would make even Sedaris cringe. Running with Scissors will transport you. Written with humor and a clear affection for its oddball characters, Running with Scissors is a story of shocking discovery and unlikely survival. But it is a New York Times bestseller that is now a major motion picture, according to the book. Oh my gosh, I only have 4 more books on my list of books that I need to read. This is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, a novel by the author of The Remains of the Day and When We Were Orphans. Never let me go. Go me let never. Go me let never. Never let me go. Never let me go. As children, Kate, Ruth, and Tommy lived in Hailsham, a private school in the English countryside where the students, sheltered from the outside world, were brought up to believe that their well-being was crucial not only to themselves, but also to the society they would eventually enter. It was an idyllic time, after which they had all long since put behind them. As adults, after years of separation, their paths cross again. Their paths cross again. Memories are rekindled. Happy scenes of boys and girls growing up together unperturbed, even comforted by their isolation. But something emerges, a sense of discord and misunderstanding that hints at a dark secret behind Hailsham's nurturing facade. With the dawning clarity of hindsight, the 3 friends find they must face the truth about their childhood and about their lives now. A novel of unusual beauty and extraordinary emotional resonance among the finest work of this brilliant writer. This is another one that I think was given to me, but I don't know. I don't remember from who. I'm excited to read it when I get around to it. I don't read books as much anymore. I'm always distracted by things on my computer and school and things. This is Things Fall Apart by Achebe. Achebe? I don't know how to pronounce the name. There's a face and another face, and they're staring at each other. Could be talking. Things Fall Apart is the first of 3 novels in the critically acclaimed African trilogy. It is a classic narrative about Africa's cataclysmic encounter with Europe as it establishes a colonial presence on the continent. Told through the fictional experiences of Okonkwo, a wealthy and fearless Igbo warrior in the late 1800s, Things Falls Apart explores one man's futile resistance and the devaluing of his traditions by British political and religious forces, and his despair as his community capitulates to the powerful new order. With more than 20 million copies sold and translated into 57 languages, Things Fall Apart provides one of the most illuminating and permanent monuments to African experience. Achebe does not only capture life in a pre-colonial African village, he conveys the tragedy of the loss of the world while broadening our understanding of contemporary realities. A true classic of world literature, a masterpiece that has inspired generations of writers in Nigeria, across Africa, and around the world. There's a quote from Barack Obama. I've been told that this book is amazing. I've been told that all of these books are amazing, and they're all, I'm sure, amazing. I just haven't read them. Then I have Dry, another book by Augusten Burroughs, a memoir. I don't think this has any blurb about it at all. I'm not sure between Running with Scissors and Dry, which of them I should read first if I'm going to read them. I'm not sure if they, one matters before the other because one was released first or not. And then my last book here is Donna Tartt's The Secret History, a novel. There's an epilogue. I was just wondering if there was a way I could see a description of the book. Oh, here's one on the back. Under the influence of their charismatic classics professor, a group of clever, eccentric misfits at an elite New England college discover a way of thinking and living that is a world away from the humdrum existence of their contemporaries. But when they go beyond the boundaries of normal morality, they slip gradually from obsession to corruption and betrayal, and at last inexorably into evil. So that was every book that sits on top of my bookshelf that I have yet to read that I told people I would read and